Hey guys, Mike from MyTekki here. Here to give you guys another Excel tip for those out there that don't know Excel very well, or maybe those that do that just don't know this. So, first off, happy 4th of July. It is the 4th of July of 2015, and we're celebrating the Independence Day of the United States. If you're outside the United States, you guys feel free to celebrate with us. Um, so again, this is just my little tip for you guys. Again, around this year, everyone's planning their trips, whether it be a tropical vacation or a Europe trip or what have you. And so I want to show you guys on how you can build a budget within Excel. However, here's the twist. You go, Mike, I already know how to do that. Well, how about having live currency exchange rates built right within Excel? So that way, when you're looking it up, you know how much value your dollar has to U.S. dollar has to the world market currently when you guys are traveling abroad. So I want to show you this because not many people know that this function exists, or they may know it exists, but they don't know exactly how to accomplish it. So let's go ahead and show you today. We're going to go ahead and bring you to a website called x-rates.com. Now, you may be wondering why I'm using X rates instead of XE, which is one of the most popular exchange currency websites. I'm using X rates because it uses a table derivative. If you guys don't understand what that means, there's different kind of programming in the background. One can be done by a table. You notice here it has TR, TB, TD, etc. And if you get to the very top of this guy, you'll notice that it actually has a tabling functionality. So you see a table index right there. So Excel only accepts table functions when trying to pull live data. Okay, so if you have a website like XE, they don't build tables, they build divs. And the problem with that is that Excel will not read those divs because it doesn't understand the parent wrapper, because a parent wrapper with a div can be 35 million divs above it, and we don't really know because they're trying to lay out certain things in different ways. They could have floats, they could have z indexes, etc., while a table is an encapsulated object. So with all that technical jargon out of the way, essentially if the website doesn't support tables and it only supports divs like xe.com and Microsoft Money, at that point in time you will not be able to use it. Which is really funny because Microsoft originally had this functionality built within Windows so that you could connect Excel to Microsoft Money's website, or MSN Money as it used to be called, and you can use this functionality. It was meant for this. Microsoft decided to change MSN Money up to Microsoft Money and completely redesign their website and build it in divs, and so it stopped working. Many people were upset about this and wanted to find a different alternative, and I'm about to show you. So you can see here that we have xrate.com here up and running, and we're going from 1 USD to whatever we want. In this case, we have Euro down here, but it could be anything. And you notice that the top 10 options here are that people travel to or look up all the time are up above. But you have a list of all the other options down here. Now, again, there may be more than this, so if you have another website you want to use, by all means, as long as it supports tables, you will be able to do the same thing I'm doing here. Now, keep in mind that you may not know, okay, how do I do that whole inspect element? Does it have a table? Excel will read all that for you. So if it doesn't have tables, you will know because of a certain function within Excel, and I'll show you that here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this URL up here. I'm going to go and copy it, and I'm going to open up my Excel. We're going to start with a blank workbook here, or you can use like a budget planner worksheet that's already in place or something, but we're going to start with a blank workbook for now. And we're going to go ahead and evidently I need to update. Okay, thank you. Alright, so I have a really big habit of naming my worksheets. It helps out when you're navigating a bunch of worksheets in a workbook, knowing what each one's for, if it's an independent list or what have you. And so I'm in the habit of naming my worksheets. And I suggest you get in the habit too because it's very helpful going down the road. So I know I'm going to have a budget worksheet that's going to have my overview of all my budget, my line items, the whole 9 yards, the prettiness, right, so to speak. And then I'm going to have a raw data output of the currency exchange rate values. So I'm going to create myself two little worksheets down here. So I'm going to rename this one by double clicking, or you can right click and rename. Either way works. And I'm going to call this my budget worksheet. I'm going to then create a new worksheet. I call them tabs, but you know they're technically called worksheets. And I'm gonna create a new one called lists dash currency, because that's what it is. Oops, if I can type today. All right. Oh, come on. Come on. There you go. All right. So got that there. Okay. Now I want to import that data. Now you could copy and paste this into Excel, because you know, no problem, right? However, that's not live. Currency updates, I think, like every 5 minutes. You know, obviously it's minute values, but nonetheless, it updates. So if you're going on a fairly large trip and it updates a half of a cent, maybe even a whole cent, that depending on your budget value, that could skew your budget quite a bit. So we want live data. So what we're going to do is in our Excel, we're going to go into our data tab. Now again, if you have 2003, it might be a drop down. And we're going to go into the from web option. And I'm going to go ahead and this URL up here, I'm going to paste my address and I'm going to hit go. Now again, I told you that Excel will tell you if the data is importable or not. Okay? And you're going to look here, if we look at this, you notice I have these little yellow guys right here, and if I hover, it highlights that whole little area. That's because it recognizes that table. So if you put your URL up there and you come in here and you don't see that little yellow guy, then that means that your website is not supported. Okay? So we're going to come down here. We're going to use this guy because we want multiple options. And I'm just going to click that little yellow guy. It's going to highlight that whole section for me, and we're going to hit import. And I'm going to say, yeah, let's go into this worksheet. A1's good. Or you could have created a new worksheet on the fly. I'm in the habit of creating my own. Now, notice here that we have everything that we just looked at in Excel live. Now, you're saying that's not live. You just imported it. You copied it. No. You can right-click on this and actually go to refresh. And it will dynamically go grab the latest data for you. Okay? As long as that website doesn't change. Cough, cough, Microsoft money. Okay. Anyways, so basically that's how it's done. Now, once you've done this, we can now use all the functions that we love, that we've learned in the past, like Vlookup and everything else, on our budget tab. So we come over here and say, okay, we're going to build a budget today, and we're going to start from a USD dollar value. Now, the way I like to build my budget is kind of give my list to the right, my sums, or my list to the left, and my sums on the right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here, and I'm just going to expand some of this. We're going to do a item of your trip, what you're trying to do. We're going to do the USD dollar value, and then we're going to do the Euro dollar value. In this case, I'm going to Europe, so to speak. Okay. So then we're going to do running totals over here. So running total. Okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and put our list values over here. So we're going to say the USD budget. And I always try to right align when I'm doing things like this to make things a little prettier. And I know the next column over H is going to be a currency value most of the time. So I'll just currency that whole column. And then right here we're going to say, okay, Euro budget. So what it translates into, right? That's really important. That's what we're trying to get at here. So I'm going to right align that whole thing. Now in this one, I need the conversion value. So what it takes for me to convert from USD to Euro. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and do Euro to USD, or sorry, USD to Euro. And then I also, what if I look up a value and maybe that the company doesn't give me the Euro value, they gave me the USD value, so they're nice, but I still want to have it in my budget. So we need what they call the inverse of that. So we can go ahead and say Euro to USD. And there we go. So we're going to give a parameter. And I know both of these are going to be float values. So I'm just going to turn it back to just a general value, and it'll do a float value for me. And then down here, we can go ahead and keep going. We can say, okay, our over and under USD, and our over and under Euro. Okay, you'll see what I mean by that here in a minute by the budget value. So let's say, for example, this USD budget is going to be a flexible number, right? This is whatever your budget is for your trip based upon how much you saved for your thing. Now, this could also be a projection worksheet. Think about it that way too. Maybe there's all these little things that you want to do, and you've kept an eye on them and everything else for the last month or so, right? And you're wanting to know how much you have to save in order to go ahead and also make that trip happen. So we're gonna go ahead and say in this case I'm gonna do it the opposite. I've already saved let's say $10,000, and notice, because again I currencyed it, it's there nice and pretty for me. And then we're going to go ahead and say, okay, well, I don't know what the Euro budget is, because the Euro budget obviously is going to change based upon the exchange rate of a USD to Euro. So that's why we got this live thing over here. So we're going to do a Vlookup. And what I like to do is I like to go and copy my cell that I'm looking up, because you don't know if that website had put some extended spaces in it. You don't know if they had put some special alt tab characters where it's alt code characters where it's spaces but they're not really showing. So I always copy the cell to bring it back over here. Now, so that's what it's looking up. So I want to look up Euro, right? And what I normally do is I put my lookup value right to the right, so I know exactly what I'm looking up. Okay? And if you really want to make this thing dynamic, oh man, you can go fun here. You can say, okay, equals to the concatenation of this cell, comma, and then space, and then budget. And then now it's really dynamic. So it's a Euro budget, right? And then I can come over here and say, okay, I'm looking up this cell, locking this cell so it doesn't change, right? So I press F4 to do that. And now everything is dynamic. So if I change this lookup value over here to something else, right? Easy peasy, right? And we can be more picky. We can say, okay, we don't even want to do that because that's kind of awkward. It looks like you're going to do it multiple times. So we're going to say trip place or something like that. So we'll say trip place, and we'll put the value right here. So we'll go back over here, copy that, and put that value right there. And now I can even get, like I said, get crazy here, concatenation, and equals to that, comma, add our second variable, budget. Okay, great. And then I can come over here and say equals to the trip of that, lock the cell, and we're ready to go. Okay, now again, I can come down here and say equals to the concatenation of USD or whatever your country is, and space, and then this value right here. And again, I can just start going crazy, making this nice and pretty by using concatenations and reutilizing one cell that I'm concatenating from. Okay, and that's the beautiful thing about this Excel. You can reuse variables basically. Okay. And then over here, I can say concatenation. I'm just making this thing overly complex, but I didn't need to really concatenate there, but I did it anyways, just in case. Because you can also do a trip from and reuse that, right? So you can have really a lot of fun with this. Over and under. I need to put quotes here. Over and under, and then your value of there. Okay, so now it's all dynamic. If I go to a different location, maybe I go to like I don't know, Danish krone, right? And I paste that there. Show you everything changes for me. Awesome, right? So it's all dynamic by using that concatenation function and reutilizing variables. So keep that in mind. You can always concatenate multiple strings by using the concatenation function. And as long as you have a cell you're always referencing, it makes life a hell of a lot easier. Okay, so let's reusable, which is the most key part. So here we're going to go to Euro budget, and we're going to go ahead and say, okay, we need to get the variable, the conversion value from USD to Euro. So we're going to use our trusty Vlookup function. I'm going to Vlookup this trip place. I'm going to lock that cell because it's always going to be there. and I'm going to look it up in the array of these three columns, and then I'm going to go ahead and use column 2, because column 2 is the conversion from USD to Euro. And I want a exact match, so I'm going to say false here. And there we go. There's our lookup. Now this is supposed to be a numbered value, so we're going to change that back to general. Notice how it gives me a nice float value. So it's nice and long. We want that to be more accurate, right? And so now if you really want to be accurate with this, you're going to want to actually floor your currency value when you go to change it. So we can do, right, for example here, we can say, okay, take my USD budget, and we'll lock that cell, and I want to multiply it against this VLOOKUP value, and that's going to give me a value here of how much my money is worth. Now, I want to floor this though, because that's actually what the bank's going to do. If you don't know what floor is, go look it up, and yeah. Oh, and I need to tell it how many decimal places, significance of 2 decimal places, and there we go. So it's actually going to floor. You're going to notice that it was at 75 cents. Now, if I do the significance of 0, so if I come back in here and floor this and do a significance of 0, I'm sorry, was it 0.00 or something like that? What is it? 1 plus. Anyways, so it doesn't work on currency. You'd have to floor the float. So never mind. I don't want to get into the complexity of things, so we're just going to leave it like that right there. So it gets down to 75 cents. It's going to be close enough. Unless you have some huge, like, multi-million-dollar budget, it's not going to make a difference. So USD to Euro, and we're going to go ahead and say, okay, now we need to know our USD to Euro conversion. So we just want the conversion values here. So easy peasy, we can go USD to Euro and just steal this lookup value right here, right? And we're done. And just throw a little equal sign for a formula, and look at that, we got it. Now we want the inverse. Now the nice thing about this website gives me the inverse. I don't have to calculate it. So we can come over here and just say, okay, we want to do the same thing, so the same formula, but we don't want to take column 2. We want to take column 3. And there's our inverse, okay? And then obviously we need our over and under, right? So for example, we can say, okay, equals to my USD over under, so we're going to say 10,000, lock that cell, minus the sum of B, because that's how many items that we're going to have in, and I want for it to close it for me, and there you go. So it has no value yet, so we're at $10,000. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say equals to, now I have my Euro budget already, so I can select that, again, lock that cell, minus the sum of C. Again, it's going to give me the stupid thing, and we'll say yes. Okay, so there we go. We got all this stuff ready to rock for us. So let's make that right align. Looks a little prettier. And we have all these things ready to go for us. Now, all we need to do now is fill in our line entries, right? So let's say, for example, we looked up a boat ride, okay? And that boat ride in Venice was going to, they told me in Euro. Okay, so we're going to Euro here, and we're going to say, okay, it's 450 bucks for the boat ride. And again, these are all going to be currencies, so I'm just going to data type these currencies, make it a little easier to read. And so I need to get the USD value. Well, that's easy. I know if I want to go from Euro to USD, I have this guy right here. So we're going to say equals to this multiplied by this. Now I don't want that to change. I don't want when I go down a cell here for it to go down a cell here. So I'm going to lock that cell and column so it's always pulling from that one thing. And there we go. There it is. And so the same thing goes. You can keep going. So let's say, for example, we looked up, I don't know, a trip to Leaning Tower. Okay? And they gave me a USD format. We go, okay, 500 bucks, right? Was the actually, well, let's say for 2, it's 500 bucks. And we go ahead and we want to go from USD to Euro. Well, it's simple, right? We just equals this cell multiplied by, you know, the USD to Euro, and I should lock that cell. Shame on me. There you go, and there it is. And then we can just do our running total, right? So we can say, okay, We can do actually 2 running totals here, which is what we really want. So we're going to do running total, and then we're going to use a concatenation function, right? So we're going to say, or I can just use plus, either way it works, euro. But we're going to do a concatenation here. So we're going to say equal concatenate, and we're going to say running total USD, or sorry, we want our second thing here. Come on. Running total, comma, our dynamic variable, and then running total, and we can do again, if we did trip from, I'm just gonna make this all down. I'll give you guys a link to the worksheet after I'm done here so you can follow along too. So there's that. So we'll say equals concatenation of running total and then USD. Alright. And then again, I'll just do equals to this, F4, and we're done. And then this I can go ahead and change to make all dynamic. And we can say, okay, concatenate that. And there you go. And again, I should lock that cell. Use good common practice. There you go. And we're done. Okay. So then over here, I can again use all these things, so that way I'm not doing anything static. Everything is dynamic, right? From a field. All right. So again, the only thing here equals to concatenation. And again, you don't have to do this. This is just a habit of mine. I try to make everything as dynamic as possible so I can make a more dynamic sheet I can keep reusing. Okay, so there you go. We got that. So if I want to change this from Euro to USD or wherever you guys are located, it would be a lot easier, right? All right. So now we can say, okay, running total USD. I need to take the from the first cell, I'm going to take the USD budget. I'm going to lock that cell, and I'm going to subtract the value of that object. And so the second one, I'm just going to go in here and say equals to the above minus the left. And then basically when I copy this down, you're going to see that the running total keeps going because there's nothing to the left, and as I add something, it keeps updating, okay? And so does our others over here. And so I can keep going and going and going. The same thing over here. I'm going to take the USD or Euro budget. I'm going to subtract the cell to the left. I'm going to lock that cell, and then the second cell, I'm going to go ahead and take this, and I'm going to subtract my Euro. And I think I did the wrong one here. I did B9, yeah. I'm supposed to subtract, actually, the Euro, that one. There you go. And so I got this here nice and pretty, nice and easy for me, ready to go. And when I want to copy this, I'm just going to copy from this cell down instead of from the top cell. And there's a lot of other ways to do it. So you can do character indexing. You can get really dynamic here. But again, this is a very, very simple budget, right, that we're able to do in minutes. And we are able to actually have fun here. So if I want to, take this whole header and make merge and center, make it, nice and big, and say, okay, this is equal to concatenation of, USD, our trip to, then we can say Euro, and then we can say, comma budget. And there we go. We can center that up, mass, and all that fun stuff, right? So it's, again, this whole thing is now dynamic, the whole thing. And now we have a really, really awesome budget. And when we want to see our updated values, we just come back over to the list, right-click, refresh. We now have, it was at 7.3, it's now back up to 7.5. So you can see it's changing constantly, right? No matter the day, it always changes. The world market is always changing. So there you go. You can then get these to a little bit smaller because you don't really need that big for the actual values. Snap these a little bit smaller and get a nice little concise budget. Okay. have fun playing out with the format. But this is something I wanted to show you that makes it really nice and really easy for you to create a live currency exchanged budget. So that way, either you're doing it the opposite way now. Obviously, if you're doing it the other way, you would do addition to what your budget is. So you would say, okay, sum this to equal my budget, instead of actually setting a budget and subtracting from. If you're doing a projection worksheet instead of a actual budget worksheet that you have to budget from a number you've actually saved. So again, a little simple way for you guys to do it. A little tip from me to you guys. Again, happy 4th of July. I hope this helps you guys out. If there's any questions, please leave a comment below, and I'd be more happy to try to get back to you as soon as I can. Please always like and subscribe. Subscribe to it should be somewhere around here once the video is edited. Thanks, and have a wonderful day, and talk to you later.